So I've been having conversations with myself and a couple other close individuals about my recent romantic experience. And I'm not one to kiss and tell, but I have to be open about this because this was a pure spiritual battle for me, where you're in a relationship and a discard happens where you fall in love with this person, and then it turns out that if this person is an avoidant, that the bonding is kind of a one-way street. And when you present yourself for bonding and emotional and physical intimacy, that becomes the real deal for that person, so much so that they run for the hills secretly. And they're finding ways out of the relationship to sabotage the relationship. And it happens very subtly. Now, an empathic person, a person who in my lifetime, I was more of an anxious attachment person who sought better emotional regulation, because after a couple of failed serious relationships where I really truly cared about people, I loved these women and I could see myself marrying these women. And I felt like there were times when I could have improved and behaved in a way. Behavior is a product of your emotional regulation. We tend to do irrational things. You control behavior, you can thus predict, or control emotions, you can thus predict behavior. I sought to remove myself from that matrix programming as much as I could. So I sought self-improvement. I started taking responsibility. I started regulating my own emotions. Therefore, I don't have to live in this state of anxiety. I don't have to be triggered by other people's projections. I can be in the moment. And even though this is not like me just shutting myself off to conflict, rather, I've lived in this conflict my whole life and have been in anxiety and in conflict with the system that we live in. I don't like it. I seek ways to manage myself so that I have healthier relationships, number one, with myself, and number two, with the people around me. You self-empower, that the values you have, your self-respect, self-love, self-dignity, through the foundational principles that I talk about often. This is what we seek to live in. So I'm not afraid of having conflict or difficult decisions. Now, some people will define conflict as anything that triggers them emotionally. An avoidant person is going to be triggered by your intimacy and your love. And so when you come forward and you say, hey, man, the way that I've been carrying you throughout my day, I tell you, I just walk with more vibrance. I have the world in my palms. You're right there with me. I carry you with me. You're the wind in my sails. That is scary to that person. And that person can't handle those things because it forces them to be intimate with you. And they find many other ways to escape that emotional and intimate responsibility. So while you're thinking you're bonding with that person, the opposite is happening on their end, and they hide it to a certain extent, but they show it in many ways. And because I'm empathic, I see right through it, but I have this love and vision of their potential and my potential with them. And so you bond with that potential and that view or that vision that you have of a life with them. If you but work on it, you stay in the pocket, as I like to talk about, and you build some character over time that, hey, I'm not gonna shy away from conflict or serious conversations. I can regulate myself. I lean more towards, or I live in a world of stability or secure attachment rather than anxious. And realizing that it is a healing process for the rest of my life, because I was hardwired to seek validation and love externally from other people. And that leads to some narcissistic tendencies. Even though it's unintended, it was never my intention to hurt anybody in my past. And we all break people's hearts. Many people do. Perhaps you're that one person that has never done anything wrong. That's actually kind of a red flag now that I think about it, because it's important to always take responsibility. We are not perfect human beings. We are going to conflict with others, because as you put your intentions out there in the event stream, we all have our independent intentions. We want to be intentional, but we are in contention with the universe and the world out there, billions of people out there, and we are going to bump and grind on one another in some way, fashion, or form. We're going to project onto others our own intentions and our own goals and aspirations and things like that. And then we build ourselves in these relationships by which we communicate. We build communication vectors and avenues in healthy ways, friendships, partnerships, professional and personal, romantic relationships. And in doing so, we cooperate. This is cooperation, right? Well, there's no cooperation with certain people, and that's a very scary thing out there. And this has forced me into some deep reflection as to why it was that I decided to continue, even though I knew that there were these issues going on, and what it was, how it was that I could have responded better in certain instances, because you find yourself going from secure back towards anxious, and you have to draw a line so that you can protect your principles and your values, and you find yourself living in your virtues as much. You cling on to those things for dear life, I tell you. So this has just been a really interesting experience, because now it brings me back to why it was that I wasted my energy. How are we wasting our energy? How are we losing attraction by leaning in the more that person kind of pulls away? And your confidence and emotional regulation is going to be dependent on how they're feeling and what they're doing. How do we bring ourselves to lose empowerment like that? You lose that energy, and now you have to look back at your family behavior and your relationship with people in your family. How many people are disrespecting you? Because that's what it comes down to. Micro disrespects and disregarding and devaluing happens, especially in that avoidant relationship. That's what I started to notice, and I started to question, hey man, how much am I willing to give, like to compromise here? Because I'm not going to be able to live through my purpose and do the things I want to do, because that purpose is going to attract the external things like romantic relationships to me anyway. That family comes to me anyway, which is essentially what I was doing when this person was attracted to me. Whether it was good or bad, the most painful thing in my life, my dad died on my 17th birthday, okay? And I always sought a better relationship with him, and he died. That was the most painful thing in my life. This is equal to that, if not worse. And I'm not being emo here. That's just how it was. And there are reasons for that I'm still trying to collect after 1 month of no contact. I'm going to stay in the pocket probably for months and deal with everything. I'm going to live in that pain, be patient with it, lose some sleep over it, but we are reinforcing to ourselves that we are ready for the next step to continue that purpose that we almost gave up. You almost gave up, and some people actually do. Some people get married and they stay in these relationships for years and years, and that is sad. It's a tragedy, and it never needed to happen. If we but empower ourselves with those values, you learn that self-love, self-dignity, and self-respect, so you don't have to go out there and find it externally. And when you find someone you love, even in their flaws, you're able to see through those flaws. I'm not closing myself off to people because they have flaws, because I have them. And I'm willing to compromise and come to a consensus and a commonality with someone, energetic commonality. That's where two spirits or two souls come in, bring that energy in, and even in disagreements, you can communicate and come to a commonality. And that's your chemistry after that honeymoon phase, right? So that's what we're supposed to be doing. That purpose that you live through continues to build your character and your principles and your values over time, and everything attracts to you because you're coming from abundance instead of a place from without. And now you have to take a look at your family. How have you been treated in your family? Are people seeing you in a previous light instead of who you are right now? Because the time for wasting energy, ladies and gentlemen, is over. And this relationship was attracted to me to show me exactly what it was that I am meant to be. And you can choose either egotistical living down the path of emptiness and loneliness, even though you're sitting next to the avoidant or laying in bed with them and you seek intimacy, but they might as well be 1,000 miles away. Do you seek that? Or do you seek your purpose and attract love that you're willing to share with the world around you? Peace.